Welcome back, everyone, to the Deep Dive. This is where we really get into details, pull things apart, and find those essential insights for you. Today, we're looking at a watch from Nomos Glashütte, the German watchmaker, famous for that clean, minimalist style, but also some serious technical chops. Specifically, we're doing a deep dive on the Nomos Ahoi Neomatik 38 date, and even more specifically, the new white dial version that just came out. It's intriguing. So our mission, if you will, is to unpack this blend of style, which it definitely has, but also its sportiness, which might surprise some people, and the very German pragmatic engineering behind it all. We want to pull out those details that make this watch special. Okay, let's get into it.
Yeah, and it's fascinating, isn't it, how these sometimes really subtle design choices add up. They create something that's not just good looking, but like genuinely versatile. It kind of challenges our usual categories for watches, I think.
Okay, challenges definitions. How so? Because, when you think sports watch, you often picture something, chunkier maybe. A rotating bezel. The Ahoi, it launched back in 2013, and Nomos calls it an all-rounder.
Yeah.
So how does it challenge things, especially compared to that typical sports watch image?
That's a great point. It really sidesteps the whole tool watch stereotype. I mean, the Ahoy is tough, no doubt, but it looks so well refined, slim. It wouldn't look out of place with a suit at all.
Right.
But then, it's perfectly happy going for a swim right after. It's almost like a stealth athlete, if that makes sense.
Huh, yeah, I like that. Stealth athlete.
You wouldn't guess its capabilities just by glancing at it.
Yeah.
And pulling off that combo elegance and toughness without compromising either. That's where it's really clever.
Okay, so it has this established identity as an all-rounder, maybe a bit of a stealth athlete. But this new white dial version, this is where it gets really interesting for me. Because Nomos, with the Ahoi line, they've given us some quite lively colors recently, right? Navy, sky blue, sand. So you might expect, maybe for summer, another bright, fun dial. But they went back to white. A white, silver-plated dial, almost like the very first 40mm Ahoi from 2013. Why do that? Why row against the recent tide of color?
Well, it seems like a U-turn maybe, but it's actually quite smart, I think. It is fresh for this season. Obviously, a white dial always works. But more than that, it really connects this newer 38mm size back to the original Ahoi concept.
Oh, yeah.
It's like saying, remember where this started? A nod to its roots, but definitely feels right for now. It anchors the model.
So elegance is clear, but you keep mentioning toughness. You said it's actually the sportiest watch in the Nomos lineup.
Believe it or not, yes. Despite the understated looks.
How do they pack that robustness in without making it look like a tank?
Well, the specs don't lie. You've got a solid 38.5mm stainless steel case. And see those little bits sticking out beside the crown?
Oh, crowns.
Exactly. Crown guards. Plus, it's a screw-down crown. That's already telling you something about durability. And then there's the water resistance, 200 meters, which is, very respectable.
Okay, 200 meters. That meets the ISO 6425 standard, right? For dive watches.
It does meet the water resistance testing requirements for that standard, yeah. So it can handle swimming, snorkeling, even some light recreational scuba. It's properly tested for pressure.
So what does this all mean then? With that rating, the crown guards, is it a dive watch or not? You hinted earlier it wasn't quite.
Right, good question. It's explicitly not marketed as a dive watch by Nomos, and the key reason, the sort of disqualification, if you want to call it that, is no rotating bezel. That unidirectional timing bezel is pretty much essential for a dedicated diver's watch for safety. Nomos really designed the Ahoi to be, like we said, a super resilient everyday watch, one that you can take swimming, no problem. But it wasn't built specifically for diving, and you see that philosophy in other things too. The case is mostly polished, not brushed, like many tool watches. It's surprisingly thin. What is it?
9.8mm thick with the steel back, or 9.9 with the sapphire display back. Pretty slim for 200 meters.
Exactly. And the lugs are quite slender and angular, even the way the date window looks. It all points towards versatile elegance, not just pure utility.
Okay, so tough but elegant. Let's talk about the pragmatism, that German engineering focus on function. I noticed one little detail, that red ring around the crown stem.
Ah, yes. Good spot.
That's not just for looks, is it?
Not at all. Pure function. It's a visual warning sign. When you unscrew the crown to set the time or date, that red ring becomes visible.
Right.
It's basically shouting, hey, careful, the seal isn't tight right now. Don't let water or dust in. Simple, but really effective. Very user-focused.
That is clever. And speaking of user-focused, the date window. You mentioned it fits the overall design, but the practicality. Its white background just blends right in with this new dial. But I read the aperture itself, and the numbers are like 3 times bigger than usual.
They are noticeably large, yes. Makes it super easy to read at a glance. Legibility is clearly a priority across the whole dial.
And the function, setting the date.
Oh, that's another practical plus. It's got a quick set date function. And crucially, you can adjust it forwards and backwards.
Oh, nice. No more accidentally clicking past the date and having to cycle through 30 days.
Exactly. Anyone who's done that appreciates a bidirectional quick set. It's just considerate design, thinking about the person actually using the watch.
Let's zoom in on the dial itself then, this new white silver-plated one. What are the key features we're seeing?
Okay, so you've got very clear black Arabic numerals, classic Nomos typography. Then there's the small seconds subdial down at 6 o'clock. It's slightly recessed, which adds a nice bit of depth, and it has that fine circular graining, snailing, and a bright red hand, which gives it a little pop.
Yeah, that red hand is distinctive. What about the main hands?
The hour and minute hands are this interesting light blue, and they, along with the little rectangular hour markers around the edge, are filled with Super-LumiNova.
So it glows in the dark.
Yep. They glow green. It's, quite legible at night. The whole dial is very uncluttered, and that discrete use of color, the blue hands, the red seconds hand, works really well without sacrificing clarity.
And you mentioned the date window is at 3 o'clock on this 38.5mm version. That's specific to this size.
That's right. It helps differentiate these newer 38.5mm models. The older, now discontinued 40mm Ahoi didn't have the date position there. Nomos has really refined the Ahoi line over the years, settling on the 38.5mm and the smaller 36mm sizes now. It shows an evolution.
Okay, let's talk movement. It says Neomatic on the dial in gold letters. That signifies Nomos's thin automatic movements, right?
Correct. Neomatic is their series of relatively new, slim, in-house automatic calibers.
And inside this specific Ahoi 38 date is the DUW 6101. You mentioned it's thin. How thin are we talking?
It's remarkably slim for an automatic with a date complication. Just 3.6 millimeters thick.
Wow, okay. How'd they manage that? Usually adding a date makes things thicker.
Their clever trick was designing the date ring to sit around the edge of the movement rather than stacking it on top like most traditional designs.
I'm ingenious.
It really is. Yeah. And connecting this to the bigger picture, the DUW 6101 is a big deal because it's fully developed and produced by Nomos and Glashütte. We're talking everything, including the escapement, the hairspring, the balance wheel, what they call the Nomos swing system. That's their own in-house regulating organ.
That's seriously impressive for a brand of their size. Full in-house capability.
Absolutely. And technically, it's got a bidirectional winding rotor, so it winds efficiently whichever way the rotor spins, offers up to 42 hours of power reserve.
And if you opt for the sapphire caseback version?
Then you get a nice view. You'll see the traditional Glashütte 3/4 plate, which covers most of the movement. That's a regional hallmark. It's decorated with Glashütte ribbing, which are these nice stripes, perlage, that swirly pattern on the main plate underneath, and blued screws, which add a touch of color and tradition. It's very nicely finished.
Nice. And finishing touches, the strap.
It comes on this rather nice blue-black woven textile strap. Feels sporty, but still smart. It has a Nomos winged clasp made of steel.
And I noticed something else, practical drilled lugs.
Yes, drilled lug holes. Makes changing straps yourself super easy. Just need a simple spring bar tool. No scratching up the lugs, trying to pry the spring bars out from the inside.
Another user-friendly touch. People who like swatting straps will appreciate that.
Definitely. And finally, if you're thinking about picking one up, the price point is worth noting. It's 3,720 euros if you go for the solid steel case back.
Okay.
And 4,020 euros if you want the sapphire display back to see that DUW 6101 movement. So there's a choice there based on preference.
Right. So summing it all up, the Nomos Ahoi Neomatik 38 date, especially this white dial version, it really feels like a masterclass in, well, thoughtful design. It blends that refined look Nomos is known for with genuine, everyday toughness and some really smart engineering. That all-rounder description feels spot on.
It really does. And it kind of leads to an interesting question, doesn't it? How does a watch like this, one that deliberately isn't a specialized tool watch like a diver, still manage to offer so much practical value and solid performance for just daily life?
Yeah, that really is the core question here. We live in a world full of gadgets designed for one specific thing. So, does the Ahoi, identifying as this resilient everyday companion, this all-rounder with serious water resistance, does it maybe redefine what a sports watch could mean for your actual life? Think about it. What features do you genuinely need and use day to day in a watch? It really makes you consider what true versatility looks like in watch design today. Something to mull over.